going on, Cass?
Save the humor. Save the humor for afterwards. Okay.
KO? Copy Roger.
Ready? Alright. Hi, this is Cass with Mayday Dog Training, and today we're here with Dave and Lisa with Consummate K-9. Dave, would you like to introduce yourself?
Howdy, folks. For those who I haven't met yet, my name's Dave Balmat. I started Consummate K-9 in the early 90s. Been at it now for over 25 years. Trained dogs in just about every discipline you can think of. Moved out here to Central Texas about 3 years ago. Put up a new facility. Tired of plowing snow. But I've worked in a lot of different things, from serious aggression issues, companion dogs, therapy dogs, service dogs, EOD dogs, HRD dogs, SAR dogs. Handled a SARD and HRD dog for close to 10 years. And right now we're just out here helping the general populace. Thanks to Cassie for coming out here, one of our apprentices who excelled at this, who has Mayday Dog Training up in Austin, Texas. We're quite a bit south of Austin, 35 miles out in the country. My partner over here is Miss Lisa Russell.
Hi, I'm Lisa Russell with Consummate K-9, Dave's partner. I have worked at the Humane Society of Harrisburg area. I started out there, and I was a kennel staff there. I started out as kennel staff, and I ended up being a part of the behavior team, medical team, and spent 3 years there. And then I decided to apprentice with Dave at Consummate K-9 in Andrews, Pennsylvania. And then we decided to come on up here, or down here to Texas, and here we are today. I had originally worked with horses. I think if you are good with horses, dog training is super easy. So get out there, horse people.
So tell us a little bit about the dogs that you have.
We've got Heathen, our Great Pyrenees. He's a livestock guardian. He guards our goats. And
It kept me up all last night because we moved him and the goats to a different pasture, and the coyotes were moving in on the chickens. Enough of that.
So he protects the chickens as well.
Yes.
Right.
And then you'll have a bull and a donkey.
And a donkey, yep. He protected them when they were babies. But now he's just with the goats and the chickens. But he's a great dog. He's about 2 years right now. And then we've got Izzy. She is, just did a DNA test on her. She is an American Pit Bull Terrier. And,
no kidding.
and a Bull Mastiff, and apparently an Akita. So good for her. And then we've got Mary Poppins. She is a miniature schnauzer. She's about 3 years old, and she's an awesome little dog.
And you've been working a little bit of bite work with her as well.
Yes, I have. She's been doing quite a bit of bite work. She's very good at
And
it.
you can see a photo of her doing bite work on their Instagram account at Consummate K-9 Training.
Yes. And then we've got Lucinda. She is Malinois, and she used to be our breeding bitch back when Dave had the breeding program. Now she's a bit old for that. She's about 10, so she's out of commission. But now she's a obedience demonstration dog and a bite work demonstration dog.
And it's never too old to train a dog new tricks. She's also doing blood tracking for deer hunters in archery season, where they may not get a good shot and the deer goes down. And she's also doing sheds. She's finding sheds. It's very interesting. We've got her on that. She's found a few sheds just in this local area. So we look forward to working her this spring.
And tell us about your cats, because y'all use cats in your training as well.
Oh yes, our cats. We've got 2 siblings. Shawnee is a tortoiseshell. They're about 2 now, I think. And then Nixon, Tiger. They're great cats. Izzy raised them. So all of the cats are just always up Izzy's butt. They think that she's mom. They were bottle babies when we first had them. And they're great. And then we also have Barney. His mother had litter in the barn, hence the name. And we decided to keep him. And he's awesome. He's a great cat, kind of feral. He likes to attack you. He actually will attack dogs, which is great because they don't really see it coming and they back off.
You may see a little bit more of all these dogs in the future. Right now, I think Cassie has a program that she's introducing us to ask questions to a professional trainer.
Yeah, Q&A.
Q&A, okay.
Yeah. But you touched on something earlier about bottle-fed cats.
Yes.
Now, would you suggest bottle-fed cats? What about bottle-fed puppies or dogs?
No.
Why not?
They don't get the discipline that they need from the mother and even the litter mates. So you end up with a humanized dog.
And why is that bad?
You have dogs that end up with separation anxiety. You have dogs that don't know how to act with another dog.
And that's generally not a genetic trait.
Right.
It's more of learned behavior because humans don't know how to raise a puppy from that infant state, from nursing to the discipline to the respect to the interaction with litter mates. So a lot of times we see it with vet technicians who will raise a puppy like that, and it becomes a little child.
Over-bonded?
Over-bonded for sure. Over-bonded for sure. Never been disciplined. If you look at a litter of puppies that are raised by a solid mother, confident animal that is temperamentally sound, mother disciplines the dog all the time. It's a way of nature. That's how the dog learns to respect mother. And when it's time to wean, they learn it's okay. We're going to go on to the soft kibble, whatever, the raw, whatever you're going to feed. But it becomes a problem when the dog does not get the proper discipline, if it will be, and that's what it is the mother dog teaching the puppies to respect them, and enough is enough. Especially when the teeth come out and they start hitting that tit. Some mothers will just say, "That's enough, that shit." Bam, boo, down to the ground. And after a while, the pup's like, "Oh, okay, maybe it's time to stop nursing. I will eat this gruel."
And even the litter mates.
I mean, that's the way it is. It's nature.
But the litter mates help too. They help teach the puppy how to play. We can't teach dog how to play. They've got to learn that just through
Bite
interaction.
inhibition. You know,
Yeah.
it's important. It's critical.
Gotcha.
So you can run into monsters, where you see them at 8 months, a little bit older, where they start showing serious aggression, and because they've never been disciplined appropriately by litter mates, mother, or any of that.
But if you have ended up with a bottle-fed puppy, or your dog was, it's not too late to reverse the
Absolutely
effects
not.
and actually teach it to be a good dog, a good stable dog.
It's understanding their dogs.
Right.
They're social pack animals, they're canines, they're a different species than the humans. And we start carrying them around with a little bottle like this. I mean, it's fine. You may need to feed a puppy and bottle rear a puppy because of something may have happened to the mother, or illness, whatever. But how it's done is absolutely critical.
Treat it like a baby, you end up with a monster.
Correct. I agree with that. I've seen it enough.
All right, so we have a set of 10 questions that we're going to answer, and then we have a bonus question at the end. So we're going to get right to it. If you hear a little bit of slurping and gnawing, it's because the dogs behind us are chewing on a nice meaty bone. So the first question is, what benefits do you see in using a prong collar? Are there any drawbacks? I want to start using one on my 70-pound lab, but have heard a lot of negative things about them. What do you think about prong collars?
Oh, goodness. Prong collar is a wonderful training tool. A lot of people are afraid. A lot of people look at a prong. Want to grab a prong?
I'll get it for you.
Okay, thank you, guys. They look at, there's a lot of negativity to any type of compulsion with an animal, with a dog especially. Unfortunately, that creates a lot of problems for the dog and for the owners. This is a prong collar. It looks terrible. It's not that terrible. Let me break it down. When one dog disciplines another in a pack, or meeting, breeding, whatever, it's basically establishing a pack hierarchy. And hierarchy. Thank you, ladies. What the prong collar simulates is a nip in the neck. So how can we communicate to our dogs when something's completely out of context and wrong for them to do? For instance, a 60, 70-pound dog jumping up on an older person, which may lose the balance, fall down. If I give that dog pop and say, knock it off, I'm communicating to the dog that's not a behavior I would like. It's not for punishment. It's not to cause pain. It's to mimic what dogs instinctively will understand being raised by dogs being born from a bitch.
Now I have to say, I always tell people, don't just go and grab a prong collar. Go to a trainer, learn how to use it.
That's critical, yes. How do you
Don't just
use
put
it
it
is
on,
important.
right, and think you know how to use it. There's a specific technique on what to do. And you can do more damage by desensitizing the dog. I've seen a lot of people put a prong collar on their dog and take their dog down the street, and the dog is still pulling on it. All you're doing is desensitizing the dog to the prong collar, and then when you do take it to a trainer, we're like, well, you know, we had a great tool, but you ruined it because now I give the dog a pop and it's nothing to it. That sensation
No effect
means
at all.
nothing, right?
And it's not to cause pain. Don't be on that mindset that the trainer wants to use this. They want to hurt my dog. No, we want to use something that the dog instinctively understands. A nip in the neck. Ding! A nip in the neck. And that's what it is. Nothing more than that.
And if you watch a pack of dogs together playing, just a bunch of dogs playing, and one corrects another, they're not that gentle. They're quick, it's a nip, and they get their point across, and the dog either backs off, rolls over, or it will challenge the dog, and sometimes you end up with a fight, but somebody has to back down. But the dog is not gentle. They're not going to ignore the other dog, where some methods, some people will use the method of, oh, the dog's jumping on my back, turn around and ignore it. Dogs don't do that. You have a dog humping a dominant female. She's not going to ignore it and wait for the behavior to stop. No, she's going to turn around and she's going to nail that dog. And we use the prong collar in whatever fashion we have to with the nip in the neck, but I'm going to be stronger with a harder dog, a hard-headed dog, but with a super sensitive dog, I'm going to use my one finger and I'm just going to give him a little pop. So
and also, it's not all dogs need it.
Right.
It's a benefit to the human to use it. It's a benefit to the dog. And again, it's not for punishment. It's not to cause pain.
And it's a training collar. It's not
for
life.
So to caveat on what you said earlier about a prong collar not meaning to hurt a dog, you've seen in the past slip leads or a regular flat collar choking a dog and doing more damage.
Yeah, they did. Somebody did a study. I don't have the information anymore, but somebody did a study. One of the dog food companies, I believe one of the larger of the 4 or 5, more damage is caused by a choke chain than a prong collar. And they did autopsies on the dogs, and after they had gone through their life of training and what they used, chokers they're not a really good training
They're
tool.
old school.
Yeah, it goes back a ways. I'll put a choker on a dog that's extremely aggressive, and I can't afford to have it slip a lead.
Or fearful.
Or slip a collar. Mm-hmm. Extremely fearful dogs, because what it does is it tightens out, chokes them a little bit around the neck, and they cannot back out of it no matter what. And that's necessary sometimes.
Right.
You can put a flat collar on some dogs and put it on pretty snug where you can't pull it off, and you get them into a situation of fear and stress, and they have already some issues with that. They'll get themselves out of it.
Right.
And some dogs will, they'll do anything to escape under certain circumstances, and it depends on the dog and what's going on with the dog.
But for dogs that are leash pullers,
Yeah, easy fix.
yeah,
Easy fix if used properly.
right, with a flat collar, they're choking themselves and
Yeah.
pulling their own.
You get nowhere.
dislocating their arms.
Same with the people that come in with dogs with harnesses.
Right,
We see about
right.
30 of them a week.
Yes.
I mean, my goodness. Well, yeah, my dog pulls. My
I
dog
wonder
jumps
why.
on people. Well, And you pull on that. Well, the harness is made to pull. It's made to tug. You've got all kinds. You got your pulling harnesses. You have your agitation harnesses. Lets the dog put all its power into that.
Into its chest.
So you get the dog by the neck, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but you need to control the dog in some fashion just to get them under control a little bit.
All right.
Well behaved.
So let's go on to question number 2. I have a 4-month-old puppy. When should I start using an e-collar, and how do I know my dog will do okay with using one? Is there an age that is too young or too old?
Oh goodness, e-collars.
I usually do 6 months, but it
Yeah,
depends.
and there's a lot of variables. I mean, also guys, folks, don't be afraid of e-collars, but please use common sense. I've been using them for over 25 years back in old school technology where we had these big old boxes that would be able to give a dog a tap doing, if it was, chasing a horse or just about being ready to get kicked in the head. So, age-wise, I mean, I like to let the dog mature before I introduce it, but there's certain things that I'll use it on a young puppy wisely. When it comes to boundary training, comes to streets, when it comes to life-threatening things.
Right.
I had a good buddy of mine down the line here, his dog's got his head kicked in by a horse, died. And we could have fixed that very easily with an e-collar, probably in one afternoon.
But he refused.
How would you
He
have done
refused. He refused to shock his dog, as he put it.
But it's not shocking. It's
Well,
not at all shocking.
It's basically you have a rheostat nowadays with a stimulation level from 0 to 100. There's a lot of different designs out there.
I think it's more like a tens unit. That's what
Yeah,
it
it
feels
can
like.
be on 20. We've had wonderful results on a level of 20 out of 100 with some of our collars. And we've got the desired result, which was avoidance. Avoid the horse. A lot of cows out here. Bulls, avoid the bulls.
Chickens.
The chickens, don't eat the chickens.
Cats.
Speaking of bulls.
Cats too.
Cats.
Teaching.
So with a very young dog, it's got to be used extremely wisely and always with a long line. You must use a long line because if you're going to do a boundary work and you're going to give the dog a tap at a gate where you may come and enter with your vehicles that opens up and you want your dog not to go through that ever because there's a highway there, you would just do a light tap. First teach him a little bit. Teach him, get away from there. Nope. Over and over, a couple times. Get away from there. Dog will start showing a little bit of avoidance. And if you put a collar on him, let him wear it for a few days before you even use it. They all get collar-wise very quickly if you're not extremely clear on how to do that. And then when the collar's on a day or two, I may walk up there and gets through that and he keeps moving forward towards that gate as it opens. I might give him a little bump. Boom! Oh, got your attention back here. So it's educating the dog. And you never let them see the transmitter, ever.
But you also do a little foundational work.
Right,
Before
you've
absolutely.
got to use the leash. You've got to actually put the work in and train the dog on leash. You can't just be lazy and throw an electric collar on and expect him to know what you're talking about. You've got to, do the work.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it works beautifully when you do the foundation.
And it's not just for major infractions. You can
No.
also use it for minor ones. as
Yeah,
well.
they're doing it
Once
now.
it's-
There's some wonderful trainers out there. And we were down at where were we at the HITS conference down in Jacksonville, the law enforcement training conference, military law enforcement. They're doing work with electric that's incredible, where they actually, the clicker's great, works great for a lot of things, doesn't work for everything, but they're actually giving a click and giving the dog mild stimulation. So the dog never shows like, oh my goodness, I just got some stimulation, something must be wrong. It actually brings the dog up and drive. Mild stimulation with the click and a positive reward. So there's a lot of ways to balance it out. It's a lot of this is education, and what we do is educate people. Dogs get trained in the meantime.
Right, and an advanced form of using the e-collar as far as law enforcement go, they're now using it to get an out, but not as an infraction, but the dog is conditioned when they feel the e-collar, they look to the handler for the reward.
Pavlov used electric, not just the bell. He also used electric with dogs. And they're learning that it works. It really works.
Yeah,
But back to your the answer
Right.
of your question
Yes, the question.
was 4 months. It really depends. Don't be lazy. Like, do the work.
Yeah, socialize the hell out of your dog. Get them everywhere. We see so many dogs under-socialized, and it's really hard for a dog to recover from some of that stuff.
And let your dog be a dog.
Yeah.
Don't be so strict with obedience. Let it be a dog.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm more of a 6-month kind of person on introducing my dog to electric.
And that's with foundation work.
Right.
With foundation work.
That's 6.
Foundation work meaning
All the basics,
Mhm.
you know,
On
walking
leash.
nice, on leash, doing a nice down stay, get some distraction in there. Come, sit down, stay, come, off, heel, leave it.
And
I
also
mean,
play training, get that in there. Teaching the dog to work with during play. But it's kind of up to you.
get some professional guidance if you don't know what you're doing.
It really depends on the dog on so many of these questions
Yeah.
and the situation of what's going on, why you need electric.
No two dogs alike, ever.
Right.
Never met two exactly alike. Thousands and thousands of dogs, never.
All right, so question number 3.
Oh my goodness.
All right, I have a 2-year-old shepherd mix who lunges, barks, and growls at people and other dogs whenever we take him for a walk. He is about 60 pounds and difficult to control. How can I stop this behavior and make our walks enjoyable?
Oh goodness. I have so many questions for this client. We could get her on the horn. I'd like to know a lot of things. How old was the dog when she or he got the dog?
Mm-hmm.
What was his behavior then?
Right.
I'd like to know if it's learned behavior or if it's something genetic, idiopathic, temperament kind of thing. Would give me a little more insight. You know, if the dog was shy at 8 or 10 weeks old and was barking at strangers, well, we may have an issue with some idiopathic
Like
or genetics. Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, exactly, Cass. If the dog was fine up until 6, 7 months and then it became a little bit much to handle, got a little suspicion, maybe they didn't socialize it well enough, or they put it away when they had company over.
Mm-hmm.
So we make guard dogs. Lock the dog up. We've got people coming over. We don't want the dog barking or threatening, presenting what might be a threatening behavior to people,
Right.
which really is testing the ground depending on the temperament of the dog. So there's so many different questions, but I'd just go and try and find a professional trainer. I'd recommend to that woman. Somebody that's willing to, work with her and the dog.
If it was a dog that, let's say it was a board and trained dog,
Mm-hmm.
and it walked fine on the prong collar when there's no distractions on the sidewalk, but then from like 10 feet away, when it sees just a human walking up and it starts to get nasty, what would you do if this was your dog?
I would get... Okay.
Okay, so question 4. I recently rescued a 1-year-old collie mix that chews on my couch and tore my blinds anytime I left the home. I decided to crate her finally, but she whines and barks anytime I shut her crate door. I feed her in the crate, but she doesn't like staying in there. What can I do?
Goodness.
How old did you say?
A 1-year-old. 1-year-old collie mix.
I think we might be on to some anxiety issues there.
Should have crated her a long time ago.
Yeah, crate your puppies. It's perfectly fine. When you get into that type of behavior, we're dealing with some serious, more than likely, underlying anxiety. Unless the dog is extremely high drive and is not exercised at all, and it vents out that way. But going at the windows, not wanting to be crated or confined, it's very likely there's an anxiety issue going on. What to do? Goodness. You better get a good crate.
But it also falls other parts of the structure of the household as well, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it needs more structure as far as,
Needs
does
it-
it sleep on the bed? If it does, don't let
Yeah,
it
yeah.
Right.
The over bonding, and I mean, it comes down and with anxiety issues, a lot of people don't realize it, but humans create them. in dogs. They don't generally come with them. I mean, they may come from a dog you get out of the pound or from a dog that's been raised improperly.
And usually strong genes, when you've got a strong line in your dog and you create separation anxiety, believe it or not, it's pretty easy to get over it. But if you've got some weak genes, it's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get rid of it.
It's one of the worst things I can imagine a dog living with, and it's probably also one of the worst things I can imagine owning a dog with that type of anxiety, where it can't stand to be left alone. It doesn't want to be confined. It has no confidence without its owner being there, and then it's probably the loveliest dog in the world. When you leave, they start tearing crap up. They start doing all kinds of really and destructive behavior. I've seen dogs with no teeth left. I've seen dogs basically hanging themselves trying to get out of wire crates. It's a horrible thing. So
basic obedience is helpful. Getting some nice obedience to where you shouldn't, when the dog's home, you should have it in a crate a couple hours just to get that separation from you. But also don't use the crate as a crutch. Make him do a downstay while you're cooking dinner.
Quiet. Hey. Oh, it's not the tail, it's the bone, sorry. Sorry.
But also, there's a protocol to get your dog to actually enjoy the crate. Not just feeding it in there, that's one of the things, but also starting with small steps, like putting it in there with the door shut for 10 minutes.
Sure,
And then
baby
I like to
steps.
make a game out of it. In the beginning, I'll just have them go in, and I'll use a catchphrase. You can say go to bed, you can say kennel up, you can say get in your crate, get in, whatever. You can use that every time and make a game out of it. And a lot of times I'll just throw a treat in, and he'll go in and he'll get it. And then I'll do that a bunch of times and go woo every time he comes out. And then I'll make him get in, and then he'll get the treat. And then eventually I'll shut the door on him, and then let it out. But
Now
do it
this
like nice and slow. And that's a really nice way, to go about it.
And it shouldn't happen with puppies. If you've got a dog that already has the issues like the woman you're talking about, that's something that's been already created. Either she created it or she got the dogs from a rescue or a pound or something, and it's there. It's an over-bonding issue. Dogs are dependent on us. We all have to understand that. But we don't need them to be dependent on us wholeheartedly. We want a level of independence in our dogs, so we don't run into these issues where they need to feel the need to escape to be with a human. They go eat through a door or bust through a window just to get on the other side, even when nobody's home, looking for the human. It's kind of ridiculous.
Quiet.
And for the most part, we create that over bonding. Sleeping in bed with a puppy sleeping in bed with us, never should happen. You don't want that dog to be so needy upon us that it's lost without that close contact. So a lot of it comes down to, there goes the dog chasing the cat, and the cat's going to beat up the dog. Wish you could see it. We'll show you sometime.
They're good playmates.
Yeah,
Would you say that anxiety is harder to work with than aggression?
I
Is
would.
it easier to fix, or is it anxiety harder or easier to fix?
I
than
feel
aggression?
I feel anxiety is probably one of the worst things to deal with. It's one of the worst things for the dog to have to live with. Aggression, so many different types of aggression, and let's not talk reactive. That's one of my pet peeves, is this word reactive.
Hate that word.
Aggression is aggression. Let's define it. Let's understand what type of aggression it is, and let's deal with it and try and rehabilitate the dog. But yeah, anxiety is much worse. Many times with aggressive dogs can walk in this door, and you've seen it, and in a half an hour to 45 minutes later, they walk out, and we basically halted the issues, the aggressive issues.
And you've trained the handlers, the owners, to
That's exactly
work
it.
with the dog in a more structure, more leadership
Yes,
role.
lack of
that
leadership
fixes
is
a lot of aggression issues.
Yeah,
that
Cass,
you
lack
see.
of leadership is probably one of the biggest underlying problems with aggression. Be it dog aggression, dog to human, possessive, the many different types of aggression. It comes down to the humans. and leadership roles. Dogs are social pack animals. They need to be handled as a social pack animal. We're at the top of the food chain here with the animals. You know, people come in, my dog's growling at me. What do? Well, you know, under what circumstances? Well, you know, when I tell it to get off the bed. Well, what's the dog doing on the bed in the first place if it's growling at you and now you're sleeping on the couch?
Right.
Or well, was my husband in the bed? I mean, we hear this all the time. It's ridiculous. It's so simple very often to fix these things if we understand that we're dealing with a different species than a little human baby.
Right. But with the crate especially, if you always put your dog in a crate and then you walk out the door for 8 hours to go to work, your dog's anticipating you're going to be gone for 8 hours. So start working with putting it in there for 10 minutes, 30 minutes while you're still at the house.
Yeah.
Even 30 minutes before you leave.
Yeah, a lot of people make the mistake of, well, there's departure cues that the dog picks up on, but they only use the crate when they're gone.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the crate is just to keep the dog out of trouble. You get a puppy, housebreak them, use the crate. It gives them a safe place to stay, keeps them out of trouble from basically ruining your home if the dog desire is to do such.
Question 5. My dog follows me from room to room in my house. She even follows me if I walk 10 to 15 feet away from her. Is this okay? Is this normal?
Get off.
This kind of goes off of what we were just talking about, over bonding, separation anxiety in a sense, having your dog always near you.
Following from room to room. I mean, is it a problem for the owner?
I think it's not a problem for her, but her husband doesn't like it.
Okay.
Her husband has an issue with it.
Dog's just too attached to her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, working basic obedience. A lot of these questions, that's the root fix is, you know, show some leadership. Maybe the dog's a little bit insecure, so it feels like it has to be everywhere with you. Maybe the dog just loves you, you know, but it's not an unhealthy thing.
If it's unhealthy, then something needs to be done.
Right, and you would know if it's unhealthy, if it's showing signs of separation anxiety.
Pawing at the door, whining. I need to get to you. You're in the bathroom. I can't stand it. That's a problem. That's a problem for the dog.
Yeah, but if it's just following you, you know, you could just teach it some nice downstays, sit stays.
That's a confidence builder for the dog too.
Yeah.
You know, that downstay and create distance is a big confidence builder for the dog.
Probably the dog's bored and doing some mental stuff, having it find its toys if it's even interested in toys, making it work for its meals, a lot of stuff. I find
nose work.
Yeah,
Nose work
yeah.
would be great for a dog like that.
a lot of the stuff is based off of boredom. The dog's just following you around like, what can I do for you?
Get away from me and go find your Kong. How
Right.
about
But there
that?
should be like, what's the word I'm looking for? There should be like, not borders, but what's the word I'm looking for?
Boundaries.
Boundaries, thank you.
Absolutely,
Boundaries between how much your dog should really be following you around and looking to you for entertainment,
Yeah.
engagement.
It comes down to neediness. If
Yeah.
it's extremely needy, then there's something missing.
Some
and
dogs are natural self-entertainers. I love the dogs that just find a toy and will just flip it up in the air and go play with it, and they just play with themselves. But then,
I like
you
dogs
can-
like that.
yeah, you can
Play with themselves.
try.
Well, really.
You can try and teach the dog, a dog, how to play with a toy by themselves. Give him some. Give him a Kong to play with, and make them find their Kong, that kind of stuff.
How you doing, Cass? Cracking up. Part of training dogs, you should be able to have fun talking about dogs.
Oh,
If
you
you're not
took it
having
me.
fun,
You tickled me on that one.
you're in the
I'm
wrong
sorry.
business.
Okay, so question 6. My foster dog has recently started growling at me when I get near her food bowl. I tried spreading her food around on the floor, and she still acted anxious and nervous when I tried to pick up even one piece of kibble. She tries to guard every piece of kibble while wolfing it down as fast as possible. What's the solution for this?
You
Fun.
call it? Would that be? Somebody might call that resource guarding.
Well, what is it? What would you call it?
I would call it food aggression.
Food aggression.
Possessive
aggression.
food. I mean, a possessive. You can possess. A dog can try and possess a couch, a yard,
A person.
a person, vehicle. A lot of things can come down into territorial. A lot of things can come into discomfort. That's outright. It's food. I mean,
And what's the
Well,
root cause? What would you say the root?
it's hard to say the root cause. I'd have to ask, what does the dog do when you play with it? If you reach for the ball, does it growl to back you away from that ball because he or she wants to possess the ball?
And if the person always backed off, you're teaching
Well,
the dog growling works.
Well, it works. It works. It's you know.
And you want to know the backgrounds too. The background of the dog. Was it a rescue? Was it starving? A lot of times,
starving dogs do
yeah.
tend to want to possess
and gobble down the food.
and protect the
Even
food.
like a year or 2 years later, after
Yes.
it's been rescued, it just kind of has that ingrained in it
Yes.
that it has
It's
to.
a survival.
Gotta eat it
I
quick.
believe it's a survival instinct. You know?
What if it's developed after a year of having this foster dog? I think this person had it for a year.
And it's just starting? Well, then it's possessive aggression over food.
And
Lack
learned.
of leadership.
Probably
Yeah.
more than
Cause?
likely. Why doesn't she just tell
She
that
should've
dog to
known,
lie down?
right.
I'll feed you and I'll take this bowl away. I'll feed you. I'll take this
So
bowl
what's
away.
what's the answer for this issue?
What's the question?
It growls at the foster when it goes near the food bowl. The foster goes near the food bowl. She tried scattering the food around, and even though it's scattered, if the foster
Still,
tries to pick up
even
one
a kibble, even a
the
kibble.
dog comes in, tries to grab it real
You need
quick
a leash and
gets
collar first and foremost.
That's right.
And you can hand feed and just kind of, give it to them, take them away, give it to them, take away. A lot of times I like to just let the dogs know with a leash and collar, look buddy, this is my food and I'm just lucky, you're lucky enough for me to give it to you. So show some respect, back off. And they learn really quickly that behavior is not acceptable. But I allow them then.
I believe there's
to
a large lack of leadership.
Right,
there.
right.
Very large lack of leadership, where the owner is not actually the boss of the dog,
Right.
which is just it's the leadership.
So they
Social
need to go
pack
back to foundation work, making sure they have good obedience, but then also
Oh yeah,
structure.
control. The dog needs to respect the humans that are caring for it. There, the dog is saying, "Hey, I'm going to take this food. You can't have it. It's all mine. It's all mine. That kibble over there, that over there, the dog dish." There's a complete lack of leadership.
And if
there.
you don't nip it in the bud right away,
It-
guess what? That's going to end up being the couch. Get away from the couch.
It
Get away from
accelerates.
it does accelerate over time.
Yeah, I've always called it the progression of aggression, and generally it just doesn't go away. People say, "Oh, he's just a young dog. He doesn't know. It'll go away."
And
Wow.
a lot of people solve it themselves by just putting the dog in a room and feeding it.
Right.
Or putting it in its kennel and feeding
Make
it.
it more. That just
It's
making
not
it more.
learning to
You're
respect
just
you,
making
it's
it more.
just-
It's just gonna gobble that food down, and then you're putting the issue away that needs to be dealt with now.
And we had a client who the dog eventually, he would put his food bowl in the crate with the dog, but then over time the dog would growl even when the owner went
yeah.
to get the empty food bowl
Yes,
out.
and bit too. Just grabbing an empty food dish.
And that dog had zero respect for the owner. So
Right.
Yeah, it comes down to leadership. I mean, you have to be fair but firm, and there are boundaries. As Cass said, there's boundaries, there's rules. My dog isn't allowed to bite me. How about that for a rule? How hard is that?
Right.
My goodness.
And you don't want to put a Band-Aid on the situation and put it in his kennel and let it just
No.
have its way with all the food without
That's
without
right.
you being there for it to worry about or be concerned about. You want to fix the root of the problem. Don't
And-
just
and-
hide it away.
a lot of times you want to fix it because people are humans. Accidents happen. What happens if you have someone new come into your house and not know that
The
that
baby,
dogs,
the baby crawling up to the food dish
Yeah.
that's always put away, always.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
except this time.
Yeah, you have I've heard a lot of people using baby gates in order to have a boundary to stop the aggression, to keep the dogs like in the kitchen. But I've heard accidents happen where daughters come in, up goes the baby gate, they have no idea, dog comes out and will like attack another dog if that's their problem. But that's the same thing. You not fix the problem, and then you don't have to worry about the accidents.
Fix the problem, folks.
Fix the problem.
It's not that hard.
All right, number 7. My little Dachshund likes to mark on people's legs and on people's belongings. How can I stop him and teach him not to do this?
Oh, goodness. How old's that little dachshund?
I think
And
it's like a adolescent, 2 or 3.
Marking.
Yeah.
That's classical marking. A lot of times when males urinate, is the dog neutered?
No.
Neuter the dog. It's certainly not worth breeding.
And what if what if it's not? What if it is neutered?
Well, neutering will knock out the testosterone, which tends to make a male dog think it wants to own everything.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, marking is an ownership thing. You may disagree, you may not. I mean, when I see dogs that mark, they're coming in and claiming, this is mine, especially something new. A woman sets her purse down, dog goes over and pisses on it. Well, it's my purse now.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
only way
in
to-
his mind, in his
The
mind.
only way to fix it is to catch it, though.
Catch him in
There's
the
no
act.
perfect-
Leash
Yeah,
and collar,
there-
leash and collar.
There is no easy way out of it. How do I fix it? First of all, your dog should be on a leash and collar, and should be dragging the leash and collar in the house, and you should not allow that dog to be unsupervised 1 second of the day when it's out. Very quickly, these things can be fixed, but it must be caught in the act.
And when you catch it, what
Up,
do you do?
grab that leash. Knock it off. What are you doing? Because it's marking. It's not that the dog has to urinate. The dog is lifting its leg and peeing on objects and new stuff, and probably you take it to a neighbor's house, and if they have other animals, Oh, and he never does that at home. Bullshit. That's bullshit. Because the dog is probably pissing all over their appliances.
Right.
Or anywhere any other animal has been.
Shoes,
So-
clothes, anything of yours.
Yeah, and the dog needs to be caught in the act. It's almost like housebreaking. We can get into housebreaking another time. It's very simple and very reliable if it's done right. But I'm sorry, I keep looking over at the cat beating up the dog. I like it.
All right. So,
Sorry.
question number 8. My roommate's dog and my own dog have started fighting each other all of a sudden. It has gotten to the point where we cannot have them out together at the same time. What can we do to teach them to coexist again? They used to play together all the time, but now they immediately fight when they see each other.
Again, there's so many other things that I would like to know to handle an issue like that. Age, sex of the dogs, are they neutered, spayed,
Their history as a puppy. There's so many questions you have to ask as a dog trainer in order to get down to the root problem.
yeah.
and
But if
what's
they're
going on.
fighting, there could be again we can get into reactive. Stay away from it. Possessive issue.
Of the owners?
I'd like to know
Or a
where the
toy,
dog may possess the owners.
Mm-hmm.
The dog, it may be a toy issue. There's so many variables. It's like, how do we fix it? Well, get out and work with your dog. Teach them not to do it. It's not that hard. Just train them not to do that. And that means leash, collar, work together, teach them some of the basics. Heel, sit, down, stay, come off, leave it. It's not that difficult. But you need to interact with the animals and let them know it's not an acceptable thing. I mean, Lisa's dog and one of my dogs were going to have a fight to the death if we weren't there to break it up. And it was upon greeting.
Uh-huh.
We had just gotten back. The dogs were out loose. We had gotten back, and they both kind of vied for some attention. And we realized it right away. We broke it up.
And there was stress in the household to begin with. We knew it was going to happen at some point.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it was a matter of time.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we were there, and the only reason it was is because we were both there. We were both returning after a long trip, and they were both very excited. And one keyed off the other, and the excitement, and it just escalated to the point where we have a dog fight now.
Right.
And Lisa's like, grab her legs, you know, grab the neck, ah! Stop it. That was the last fight they ever had.
But you taught them through that fight, after they fought and you broke them up, you taught them that's not okay.
It's not okay. It's not okay. And
you didn't put them away in different rooms and just let them
They
cool
did a
off,
downstate next to each other for about 45 minutes. Well, one
and
of us
not
was
allowed to give a dirty look.
nothing.
Or
They couldn't even look at each other. Now they live in harmony. They can both. We allow them up on the couch. They can both get on the couch together.
But both of your dogs also have great obedience and respect.
You
for
need
each
great
one of you.
obedience,
Yes.
and you need great. If you've got a dog with an issue with another dog, any other dog, your dog should be able to down the second you say down. Just hit the deck.
Down's
And
down. Boom.
your dog should also have a beautiful recall. And these are just 2 important commands to stop whatever's going on. If they're looking at each other funny, you yell down, they both hit the deck. That should happen.
That ceases and desists everything. When you have a handler or an owner of a dog says down, and that dog does hit the deck, instantly, you just fused any future problems.
But if you're dealing with aggression problems, you need to see a professional trainer who deals with aggression. Not one that just works with basic obedience, but someone who specializes in aggression. You should never try to do it by yourself, especially, or even with other people who are not experienced with dealing.
The clicker ain't gonna work for that.
No, the clicker works well for motivating like tricks and even basic obedience, but corrections, no, the clicker will never work for correcting your dog. So,
But you can't. They might not be able to get the dogs to play again. That's a possibility. That it's just they're not going to play. A lot of times dogs mature. They start having issues, and they just don't get along.
Yeah,
that happens.
these 2 don't play, but
they used to.
They coexist.
They used
perfectly
to,
fine.
and that's what should happen. They should be able to at least hang out in the living room, in the kitchen, wherever, and just coexist, just like 2 ships in the night, whatever that saying is.
You didn't get your dog to play with my dog, and I didn't get my dog to play with your dog.
No, they're not interested in
but
that.
they can hang out together all the time.
Right.
all right, so last question, number 10 is, nope, I lied. Number 9.
Oh my goodness.
My dog is very fearful of loud noises, specifically when the landscapers are outside mowing and weed eating. She goes crazy and panics whether she is loose in the house or in her crate. She has broken out of her kennel a few times from clawing and chewing through it when the lawn gets mowed. How can I get her to calm down and not worry about loud noises?
Take
That goes
her
back
out.
into anxiety, which is a very difficult thing to work with and fix.
Probably some nerviness there of sorts. Breaks out of the kennel.
I'd work her on a training collar, put her on a training collar. I'd work some basic obedience in-house or in the backyard when the landscapers aren't there. And then guess what? When the landscapers come,
Take a day off of work.
we're going.
Yeah,
We're
take
going
a day
out
off
there,
of work.
and I'm going to have that dog's back, and I'm going to let him know that. And I'm going, if he goes to act out, lunge at the lawnmower, I'm going to, absolutely not. I'm going to tell him, you cannot act like that. And we're just going to keep walking with the lawnmower.
And I think before they're done mowing the lawn, the dog would be sitting up on the landscaper's lap while he's mowing the lawn. I think that would stop that.
Would you start from a distance and building the dog closer and closer to the
loud
lawnmower, or would
noises
you
and
go
that
straight
stuff.
to, getting her right into it?
Well,
Would you start far?
If it's a landscaper
I'd
issue,
start far away and then work in, gain its confidence like that. And but at the same time, if there's any outburst from the dog, no. Little checks with the collar.
Keep her moving?
Oh yeah,
Or
keep
put
her
her in
moving. And you don't necessarily have to do sit and down and all that. Just walking. Just let's move and have fun. You're probably not going to get the dog to play because it's going to be too anxious.
Right.
You're probably not going to get the dog to eat. But if you
probably
can do
won't take
these
a
things,
treat
if you
under
can
that
do
stress.
these things, incorporate those things so that fun things are happening while that's going on. But if you work with that every time, you know when your landscaper's coming. So every time you go out and work with them.
You can
Or
also use. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
I'm thinking even just one time.
Mm.
You know, take a day out, half a day off of work when you know they're coming. Get the dog out there.
And you can also use food as well. It's daily meals. When you know the landscaper's coming, you can use its meals trying to motivate the dog and get comfortable near those noises and excitement. It might not take it the first time. Like if you're able to set this up, it may not take the food immediately, but over time it will.
Yeah.
If you use the food.
Yeah.
The food's not a fix for everything,
Right.
though. I mean, folks got to realize that. You know, food is a wonderful training tool, but it's not a fix for everything. You can use it for a lot of just positive reinforcement under certain circumstances. But the last thing I'd like to see is somebody that walks around with a food bag on their waist for the rest of your dog's life and just bait it. Dogs are not. That's not what it's about. It should be the relationship between the human. Trust, yes. Between the human and the dog.
And this could be a coddled dog, kind of sounds a little bit like a coddled dog, or possibly it's just bad genes as to why it's acting like that. But the last thing you want to do is, if you are at home and the landscaper comes, is pet them and say, it's okay. Because all that is doing is saying, it's okay to be scared. Keep being scared, keep being scared. That's all the dog hears. Same thing with a baby in a stroller. The dog's first time it sees a baby in a stroller going by, and it starts growling. If you start saying,
it's just a baby, it's just a baby, you're just reinforcing your dog's behavior.
You're saying, hey, keep growling at babies.
Yeah, we like that. We like that. You want to come up? Come on up, pup.
All right, so question 10. My dog lays down when I try to take it for a walk. He is really excited when we start the walk, will let me get his leash and collar on, but once we get a few houses down, he lies down and refuses to move. I tried pulling him forward, but ended up dragging him, and my neighbors were staring at me. I eventually gave up and took him back home. How can I get him through this?
That kind of sounds what I tend to call passive resistance. Dog may not want to go to a particular point, may not want to continue on a walk, may want to get home for one reason or another. A lot of times there's an insecurity there. Puts the brakes on and says, I'm not going any further. And when the owner says, okay, let's go this way, let's go your way, we'll go back home. Well, the dog's learning from the owner that putting the brakes on is an acceptable way to get its way. The dog puts the brakes on, I go forward more into whatever he's stopping for, we don't know.
Do you keep pulling? Do you give little...
I'll try and motivate, dog, come on. But the dog's going with me. The dog's on a leash and we're going for a walk. Regardless of what, come on, let's go.
Because eventually the dog's not going to get dragged a football field.
No, they're going to get up and walk and realize that there's more to the world than stopping here at these mailboxes, because that's as far as my owner has taken me all of its life and then back.
Right.
And that's all it's comfortable with, and maybe its comfort zone.
And if they do get drugged, like 4 feet, however many feet, don't worry about it. Guess what? The dog is doing that to himself. It is super easy to just get up and move those legs. He's just putting on a little temper tantrum and saying, no, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
So
we have good
just
stories.
keep going.
Probably good video on that stuff too, down the road.
All right, so now we're going to check. We're at the bonus question, so.
Break.
Yeah.
Howdy, folks.
Okay. All right, now it's time for our bonus question. Are you ready?
Sure.
Dave does not know what the question is at all, so this is
I didn't know what any of the questions
That's
were.
true. That's true. All right, so I was told by a previous trainer that the best way to break up a dog fight was to stick your finger in the dog's butt to startle it or to throw it off guard. Do you suggest this method? Have you ever tried it? And what is your preferred method? This is a true question.
Oh my goodness. I wouldn't recommend sticking any of your appendages up a dog's butt. unless you have to clear a blockage or something of that nature.
Have you heard of this before?
I have.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, and the person claims it works every time. I
There
think
are
it's a
people
good
out
way.
there-
It's a good way to lose your hand, depending on the dog and the dog's bite drive and whatever. Just keep your fingers out of their butt. In that sense, breaking up a dog fight, it can be very difficult and it's very dangerous.
Not to mention, just gross. Like, I have to
And
say.
you have to have good aim.
Yeah.
In the middle of the fight going on, you have to
Yeah,
have
I mean,
good aim.
being able to dance around a dog is so important. You know, in our situations, we try and maintain control if we're going to assess dogs, and we know there might be a tangle. We are always ready to pretty much stop it before it becomes contact sport. You know, leashes on the dog. One handler will walk around the other handler and dog and make sure their leashes never get crossed.
And when they're introducing a dog.
Introducing, yeah, always butt,
Okay.
always nose to butt. Never nose to nose to butt first. Let them take a leash walk. Let one dog come up behind another one. Look for cheap shots. I mean, now I'm going to get into how to do it. There's a lot more to it. Breaking up a dog fight's very difficult. You know, if clients said hose, water, all that. I mean, how can you get that?
No, you know what works?
What?
Izzy!
Here she is.
Here you are, come here.
Let's see what works.
What works is dogs are in a tangle. Whoa, crazy. Eventually you have to get, for purposes of camera, you get near the dog and you grab, this dog is just going nuts. She's mangling. Grab the dog's collar, you lift up, and you just keep lifting up. And if you can bring your body like this, but you lift up.
And if you have
What
a
the heck are
partner,
you
if you
doing?
have a partner that knows how to handle dogs, what we'll do is we'll take
No.
we'll take
no,
the back
you
legs
just
out.
lift up. You just lift up.
Well, if you have another person.
If you have another person, they do the same
With
thing,
the
but you don't
other
want to pull, because all that's going to do is you're going to pull the dog, and especially with the pitties, they're going to latch on, and all you're going to do is rip skin. You don't want to
Their
rip
muscle.
skin. Yeah, all you want to do is choke them out in order to get them to release. So you're just lifting up until the dog, until the dog gets choked out enough that it releases, and if the other person is doing the same thing, perfect. And then you get them out of there. If you're by yourself, I get the aggressor, the one that's really going out at it, and you're hollering. That helps. Of course, if you hoses, I've had work if you got the timing right. But just same method, and then you use your foot, you use everything, and a lot of times you're moving the dog to a safe place. But you've got to, unlatch one of them and then move the dog, away to the safe place. It's difficult to do on your own. That's why you should always have, if you're going to have two dogs together, you should always have one handler per dog. Especially if they're iffy dogs.
Right.
But the choke out is best way, because you can choke out every dog, any dog.
And then it's life threatening, so you have to take care of business. You can't be soft or gentle about it. Choking out, there's nothing wrong with choking out a dog if they're fighting.
And you've got the leg method, and that works for some dogs, but the choke out works for everybody.
You just have to be quick with it. You just have to be quick and smart about how you do it.
And know where your hands are. Don't get your hands in the way. Don't get your legs in the way. It works. I've used it on many dogs many times. Not that like a ton of dogs around me have been getting in fights, but I've worked with enough dogs
Right,
that
dogs and
that I've had
dogs.
to run into an area.
And your fingers don't smell like poop.
Because
No.
you're not
And you
using
still
your
have
finger
both
and
hands.
foot. Yeah.
Right.
All right, come back and sit down
Oh,
so we can
okay.
say
Hi.
goodbye to everybody.
All right, folks.
So, last year y'all wrapped the leftovers, season 2.
Oh yeah. That was fun.
Tell them about what y'all did with the leftovers.
This dog growled at Justin Thoreau this one
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
kennel. Yep.
Yeah, we had one dog fired. It wasn't this one. And then we hired another one. But I think just in one HBO series, we placed 35 or 37 of our clients' dogs.
Oh.
We got them on film. So that's an interesting thing. We're looking into a lot of different options now. There's a lot of westerns coming to this area. There's a lot of right now we're looking at a Comedy Central pilot, I believe, and I think we have the dog lined up for that. So our own clients' dogs we like to use, and
It's the perks to training with us.
yeah, so it's an odd story. We won't get into it now, but we're in that business as well. Hollywood movies and.
And you trained the main dog for season 2.
Yeah, the main
family
dog.
dog.
Yeah, couple different names to that dog. Actually, the very interesting story for folks is Lisa went and picked up the dog from Austin Pets Alive.
No, Austin Animal Center.
Austin Animal Center that day. They didn't like the dog that we had brought in. It wasn't furry enough or something, which it was a trained dog. So Lisa went in and pulled out a dog that was turned out to be about a 2-year-old Chow Shepherd, I think. And I spent 3 nights in my camper with the dog trying to keep it alive. Kennel cough, everything else. Got it healthy, perfect, real good dog. But having that Chow in there made him a little bit cantankerous with strangers. So they used him for a few bits of that show as the Stars dog and the Hero dog, which we were trying to match. And he lost his job because he growled at somebody. And so did Izzy, but it was no big deal. So we placed that dog, got another dog, and
Well, Izzy did it on purpose. Like they wanted.
they
that.
wanted the
yeah.
growl. The dog barks. There's basic obedience on that. If you ever want to get your dogs into the movies, he'll sit down, stay, come off, leave it.
And a
work
good
those-
downstay or sit stay.
Yes,
That's
Cassie.
really good.
Cassie's dogs was in there. Did a
45-minute downstay.
45-minute downstay on a cot with a stranger, and you can see that dog.
That's nice to have.
Little
Yeah.
Laverne, you can see her in the movie show, but
So season 3 is coming up.
I understand they're
guess,
gonna redo season 3 in Austin, so we're gonna be looking for extras. We've used goats. I have 5 Alpines now on the facility that we're training for various things.
And they were in the show.
A few of them,
Chickens.
a number of them were. Our chickens were in the show. Our donkey and Lisa's bull is maybe lined up for another show. So these animals can be really useful and beneficial for everyone involved. It's a lot of fun, Movie business is. I wouldn't want to be a movie star. I can tell you that. But training animals is a lot more interesting to me.
Yep. So that's the end of our Q&A today. If you have any questions for next week's Q&A, you can comment down below on the Facebook page. And I guess that's a wrap.
Yeah, please
Once
do.
again-
Comment.
Once again,
Let us know what you wanna
we're at
know.
Consummate K-9 Training today. This is Dave and Lisa, and I'm Cass. Tell them a little bit, real quick, again, about Consummate K-9, what you specialize in, and the types of work that you do with dogs.
Right now we do about everything. Right, we deal with companion dogs. That's the biggest thing. It's the bread and butter of this business is companion dogs or people that need help with their companion dogs. We do specialize in assistance dogs, service dogs. We're not doing a lot of detection work at all. Kind of leaving that to the law enforcement professionals. We are getting heavily into tracking dogs, blood tracking dogs for deer and game, archery season in the fall. Antler detection dogs. I'm finding that to be very interesting. It's a way to get out and hike and play in the woods and have your dog possibly bring back a nice antler, which would just be eaten by mice and rodents out there in the long run. So we're working on that. We're also putting out a lot of rack traps, if you ever heard of that. I can tell you about that later. But it's a way to for the bucks to shed their antlers naturally. And their antlers get caught in a little chicken wire mesh, and it's perfectly safe. But they get their little feed, and then they pull away, and the antlers drop off when they're ready to drop off, and then we can go collect them and train dogs on them. It's all good. See you guys.
All right, see you
Thanks.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.